We like being a small town where you can put your kids in your boat and go out and fish and see quiet and a serene setting. Not a lot of noise, not a lot of hoopla. It's our beach that we've grown up on as kids. When families go out there and they turn you loose and you run up and down the beach.
Well, for a long time it was the isolation. I think we were just sort of out here by ourselves, and it was just fun being with each other and playing together as children.
Rutledge lived across the street from us. Our two families were close, and both of our mothers taught school, and his father was already involved in seafood business, and we just had a very quiet upbringing.
Well, Rut and I are cousins, and we've known each other for a good little while now. We became close when we worked on projects together, Rut and I. And not only the museum project, but land preservation, bringing green space into McClellanville, places that have been green for generations, kids playing under giant oak trees on tire swings. He said it needs to stay that way. The town's going to grow, but it needs to stay somewhat like it is right now.
My father is very much from this town. His mother was a Morrison, and this was originally settled by the Morrisons and the McClellans and that sort of thing. So they're original. There's been a real strong lineage to the family to stay at Clemson. I had no idea what I was getting into when I went to Clemson. I was just said, that's where you go.
After graduating from Clemson in 1966, Rutledge served in the Air Force for 4 years before returning to his beloved hometown.
When I was given my release from the Air Force, we were already partially living in McClellanville, and my father had a seafood business here, and he had an Esso distributorship, and I was given the choice of which one I would like to do, and I chose the seafood, and we went to work pretty much every day for a long time. Well, still do.
Mr. Leland's had Carolina seafood for as long as I can remember. He's been a big part of us staying going, keeping the dock open, and because all the commercial fishing docks around here are closing down. There's very few docks left around here, to keep commercial boats. And he's doing his best to keep going.
There's a lot of shrimping villages along the South Carolina coast, not as much as there used to be. And I'm told that out of all of the shrimp that's shipped in South Carolina, 44% of the shrimp goes through Carolina seafood. That's a lot. Our shrimping industry has declined considerably. We have two major companies still on the creek, Carolina Seafood and Livingston Seafood. But it's still important. It's the big employer still in town today. People here count on it. Those shrimp boats are owned by a man who has a family to support. And guess who they depend on for their leadership and their quiet guidance? Rutledge Leland. And not only is McClellanville depending on him, but the state depends on him. When the cameras start rolling about the shrimping industry, they come to McClellanville and talk about him, but he is the face of the industry. He runs a wonderful business, very well thought of in that industry. And then on top of that, as a young man, he comes home from the military and decides, I'm gonna run for office. And here he is, the mayor of McClellanville, a young man just coming home from the military, taking on a new business. And it's been 50 years since that day.
I would very much like to see the continuation of the shrimping industry here, as well as the oyster and clam industry and the offshore fishing. All of those are things which are very important to the McClellanville economy, but the people that live here they depend on it. And I think the people of South Carolina would very much be unhappy if we lost our commercial fishing industry.
Hugo tore a wide path of destruction through the state, and no place was hit harder than the Lowcountry. The storm damaged 80,000 homes, destroyed more than 5,000, and left another 17,000 homes uninhabitable, at least for now.
It came on us in September, which is the peak of our shrimping season. So we were very busy at the dock, getting the boats unloaded, getting the product sold, and to secure everything, knowing that we had a pretty bad night coming up. The water came much higher than it had ever come here before. The winds were pretty high. The water was the big issue, though. It just flooded the entire town, and the rush of water knocked down many houses and ended up pretty much destroying a lot of houses. They were still standing, but full of mud, fish, all kinds of things. So it was a horrible situation. Fortunately, we had no loss of life. You know, everybody that stayed here found some way to protect themselves by going up into higher spots within the house, including my family and I.
In 2023, nearly 35 years after Hurricane Hugo devastated McClellanville, Rutledge was presented with the Order of the Palmetto for his leadership.
I have been serving as mayor and numerous organizations for all of my working career. And one Friday afternoon, my city administrator came by as she was getting ready to leave. She said, "Oh, by the way, you received the Order of the Palmetto." And she also said, "You have a choice of having it awarded here in town, or would you like to go to the governor's office?" And I thought it would be fun to go to the governor's office.
Rut is the most unusual man I've ever met. He works from daybreak to dark, every day just about, except Sundays. He runs a wonderful business, very well thought of in that industry. And then on top of that, as a young man, he comes home from the military and decides, I'm gonna run for office.
That's kind of the way being mayor of this town is. People do it because they love the village.
We like him as a man, and we like him as a mayor. Clemson is strong here. More than any other college, Clemson is the one most represented here. And it's because Daddy went there, Mama went there. Generations have gone to Clemson. Clemson has been with this part of South Carolina for a long, long time. They have sent all kinds of experts here to study the animals, the changing of the creeks and the marshes disappearing. All of these things, they've been here studying it ever since I can remember, and hope they'll stay.
It's not hard to become wrapped up in that Clemson feeling. And Clemson, like McClellanville, has that sort of small town, villagey feel still, I think. I know people that live there, and they love Clemson just as we love our village.